Hi everybody, my name is Jim Karpowitz. I work for a company called Skycom Avionics here at the Waukesha County Airport, and I wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about the wonderful world of avionics and what we do here, and give you just a little bit of a snapshot of something that might be of interest to you. Now, what are avionics? Avionics, think of it as anything electronic that you can put into an airplane, make it part of the airplane, and you have avionics. Electronics that fly. Now, that could be anything from two-way radios that pilots use to communicate with ground facilities or with one another. That could be navigation equipment. That could be the autopilot. That could be safety equipment like weather avoidance, collision avoidance, the systems that help air traffic controllers keep track of various aircraft that are under their control. All of that falls under it could be passenger entertainment systems, kind of a wide range of things that we do. And if you look at the instrument panel of the average modern aircraft, it's really beginning to look a lot like a flying video game. A lot of screens, a lot of computer and software related devices. And so if you have an interest in aviation, if you have an interest in radio, if you have an interest in mechanical work, computer work, avionics and general aviation or commercial aviation might be something that you want to take a look at. So I've been doing this now for over 30 years. I started out, actually when I was in high school, I applied for a co-op job because my electronics teacher said, hey, there's a guy at Timmerman Airport, he's looking for somebody, looking for a high school student to teach him the ropes. And so I kind of jumped at it because I had an interest in radio, I had an interest in aviation. So I went and I applied for the job. I talked to the owner of the company that would eventually morph into this company. And at the time, he didn't hire me, but it was an interesting exposure just to the shop environment, and it really kind of piqued my interest. Well, I did a couple of years of technical school. I studied graphic arts, and after 2 years, like any good college student, I was running out of money. I was needing to come up with some good options. So I happened to be at Timmerman Airport on a photo shoot, and the guy that let me in to get access to the airplane so I could do my photo shoot ended up offering me a job. So I worked there on the fueling line for about a year and a half or so, and learned a lot about aviation, airplane handling, how to work around airplanes safely, fueling service, customer service, and learning about just the wonderful utility that aviation gives us, the ability to get from one point to another in a relatively quick fashion. And aviation makes many things possible that would not otherwise be possible. In fact, I have a friend down in South America who operates 3 float planes, and he's out there in the Amazon reaching tribal groups with medical supplies and with spiritual help, and just meeting the physical needs that they have, when your only option is either to use a boat, which may or may not work out, or to get there by air. So aviation is an exciting area to be in. If you've ever flown in an airplane or in a helicopter or something like that, you know that it's also a lot of fun. And so what do you need in order to do this? I mean, you should have some mechanical aptitude, and you need to be willing to learn about how things work and why things work. You need to know how to follow rules because there are numerous regulations in aviation for safety reasons. You have to be safety minded. If you're the kind of person that doesn't do things carefully and that just sort of slops things together, aviation is definitely not for you. But if you are meticulous, and if you're careful, and if you're willing to learn, and if you are willing to work diligently, this can be a very rewarding thing for you to do. So what I'll do in the next couple of shots is I'll just give you a quick overview of the shop that I work in up here, and maybe we'll take a look at a couple of airplane panels, and then I'll wrap up, because I don't want to get too detailed, because this is just supposed to be an overview. But we'll go to the next section here, and we'll just kind of give you a little tour. Our shop consists of two panel/bench areas, at least in the what we call the repair lab here. The test benches are my little home away from home, with various types of panels and equipment that allow us to functionally test various types of avionics and ensure that they are working to the published manufacturer specification. This is kind of a cool retro panel that we put together, some of the older test equipment that's not used anymore, but it just kind of looks neat. So we put it aside over here just for a little bit of show and tell. On the other side of the shop here, we have a panel that has equipment for checking autopilots and for weather radar. With this equipment, we can perform specific tests on a given unit and check its operation before it actually finds its way into an airplane. So let's see what this one does. There she goes, taking itself through a self-check, and then once it completes those self-checks, then we would do whatever specific testing is necessary to make sure that the unit is operational. And if it sees something it doesn't like, it'll give us a little message, just like we're seeing here. Because it's not fully connected, we're just turning it on just so you can see generally how this works. Avionics come in a variety of sizes, types, functionality, age. Some of them are relatively recent, some of them are quite old. I mean, we have radios that are 35, 40 years old that are still functional, and these are either here for repair, evaluation. They may have been removed during an installation. Sometimes we have to look and just see if the unit can be easily repaired, refurbished, or in some cases it might be too expensive or impractical to repair, in which case we might be able to salvage some usable parts in order to keep older units going. This would be an example of a radio from probably the late 80s, early 90s. It's that general era of technology. Still quite easily repairable out in the field if you have the documentation and the parts to do so. A skill that is it takes a little bit to perfect, but is easily learned if you're willing to apply yourself. And if we are able to repair equipment as opposed to having to replace it every time something goes wrong, it's much more economical for the customer. This gives you an overview of our shop, where airplanes are worked on for various avionics needs. That could be anything from troubleshooting and repair of existing equipment to the complete removal of old equipment and the installation of some nice shiny new stuff. There's a fair amount of mechanical work involved, electrical work, and a good deal of skill needed to do this type of work. We're in the process of refurbishing this airplane. This is a Piper Warrior. So we have the instrument panel apart, we have the interior trim apart. You can see some of the wiring that goes to the various parts of the airplane. And so we have the seats out, we have the interior out, and so we are replacing wiring that needs to be replaced so we can put some brand new equipment in here. Here we have an avionics upgrade that is nearing completion, and we are just making some final tests on it, putting things back together, getting ready to return it to the customer. With everything powered up and just getting started here. Give you a quick shot here of a small business jet. Much of what we work on are single and twin engine propeller driven airplanes, but we also get quite a number of turbine powered aircraft, and so this is something you might use when you absolutely positively have to get there at 300-400 miles an hour. And it's obviously very sophisticated. It's a very nice way to get around, and we are just doing an upgrade on one of the radios in this particular aircraft. So we'll be testing that before the airplane flies again, and it'll be returned to service. I just imagine if you had something like that on your car, you could pass anybody on the freeway. So this is the business end of the aircraft where the pilots sit, and this is the navigational, operational control that they exercise over the airplane in flight. You can see it's quite sophisticated, very nicely put together, and a very comfortable airplane to fly in. Well, I'd love to be able to tell you that I'm just getting ready for a trip to the Bahamas for a week or two, but the fact of the matter is I'm going to go inside and go grab some lunch. So I just wanted to tie this up by saying thanks for taking the time to watch. I hope this has given you just a little bit of a glimpse as to what we do here in avionics. And aviation is really a fascinating business, and it's a wonderful pursuit, and something that I would definitely encourage you to take a look at, because the needs of aviation, I'm sure, are going to continue to grow over time, and definitely worth looking into. So take care, be safe, and you guys enjoy the rest of Jamboree.